Okay, Bruchim Abayim, dear Chabura, going through Kala Teira Kula, the entire Teira Shabbat Peh with the Rambam in our lead, one Perek a day. And we are about to begin the 8th Perek of Hilchas Tefilla. And now that the Rambam already laid before us the entire davening, starting with Shemona Esrei, and then he back in the Brichas Shachar, all the Mea Brichas. Now the Rambam is going to move forward and describe to us the structure of a minyan. First, the mile of a minyan, etc. And then the Rambam is going to move on to in what place a minyan can take place and what will consider all the 10 in one place, in which case, if they're in a different area and a different section of the house, are they not mitzdaref? We'll see it inside Halacha Aleph. Tefillah Satzibur Nishmas Tamid. Important to know that the prayer done collectively as a group, as a community, Nishmas Tamid, it's always accepted. Even though there are between them sinners that generally, if the Eibishter zeroes in to judge them, their tefillah should not be accepted. When they come together, the Eibishter doesn't despise the tefillah of a rabbim, a group. And for this exact reason, a person has to continuously ensure that he joins up together with others. One should not daven privately if he has the ability to daven together with others. The Alter Rebbe uses a strong lashon. He says, if you cannot collect 10 people, then you could do on your own. And regardless, and seemingly then the Rambam indicates over here that even if you can't daven with a minyan, at least daven in a shul. But regardless, get up early and go and in the evening as well, come to a shul. The place where the Eibishter listens at all times is in a shul. So if a Yid wants to daven, he's not from the Chiyuv of Tefillos, go and daven to the Eibishter in a shul. Anyone that has a shul in his city, and he does his own thing by the Mizrach Vant, yeah, he downs by the Koisel in his house, lie there, Nikra Shachin Ra. He's called a negative neighbor, not a positive one. Halacha base. Now, how should you go to shul? Special mitzvah to run. Shenema, as the pasuk says, V'neida near the Holodas Hashem. And once I understand the Eibishter, I understand what's the handle, I'm going to run Lodas Hashem. That's only the way in. On the way out, Al Yafsiya B'siya Gas, do not take large, broad steps. Al Yelech Mat Mat, go a little bit, smaller, humble steps. When you come into the shul, you should come in the depth. That means don't stand by the door like a person that that wants to get out. Don't go. You don't stand by the door. Rather, go in. The shear of 2 psachim. What are the shear of 2 psachim? So there's days, whether it's the width of the door entranceway, or it's the between one doorpost and another doorpost. Consensus is the average amount of a door opening. That's how deep you should go into a shul. Don't wait by the door. It's like, there's people that take a cup of Coke or take a drink, and they keep their hand on the bottle because they're about to take another cup. Okay? And as if das is nicht edel, it's not edel, and you're coming into the Eibishter's house, be there in Ganzen. You're keeping your hand on the door. It shouldn't be too far. Sagen uns Chachamim, and it's actually meduk from a pasuk. What it says in the pasuk, Lishmar mezuzos psacha, you should guard the mezuzos, the doorposts of my openings. Psacha plural. You should go in the shear of 2 psachim. Don't wait near the door. Halacha Gimel. Beis HaMedrash, God on Beis HaKnesses. The sanctity and the kedusha, the holiness of a Beis Medrash where they learn Torah is greater than a shul. And therefore, even though there were many big and beautiful shuls, they only daven in the place where they toil in Torah. However, providing that it's not coming at the expense of davening with a minyan. That means you could daven in your Beis Medrash if there's a minyan there. Otherwise, go to shul. Now we're moving on. When they're davening together, what changes? How does davening look different as a tefillah of a tzibur? Zog the Rambam. Ye echad mespal b'kol ram b'kol shaymin. They're led. The congregation is led by a chazan, and he davens hoich. As we'll soon see, davening hoich b'pashtus is talking about Shemoneh Esrei, and he leads the Shemoneh Esrei, the Amida, the Chazar Sashat. Ve'in oisin came b'pachas masar g'dolim u'bnei chayrin. To be able to do Chazar Sashat, you need to have 10 adults that are not avodim; they're free men. Or shliach tzibur echad men. The shliach tzibur is one of the 10. Now, even if some of the minyan have already davened, so you would think to yourself that they can't collectively say the same tefillah. Some of them already yaitza. Even if some already daven, they can conclude. They can fill in for the 10, providing you have to have the majority of those that are davening that they did not daven yet. For the majority of 10 is 6, right? 5 is half. Now, without 10, ain't oimrim kedusha. You don't say in nakdisha v'loy koyrim b'Torah. You don't do kriyas Torah v'varchim lefanei acharei. Meaning you could learn Torah, but you don't read Torah with the bracha before Baruch Hashem Avarach and Shanasim Lom Torah Samas. V'loy maftirim and Nevi'im. You don't do Torah. Ella ba'asar. You need 10. Now, v'chein. Not only Chazar Sashat is not done with 10, we're now going to discuss a concept called Poiris Alashma. Poiris Alashma, unlike Kedei Achil's Pras, which means half, Poiris means also HaPoiris Sukkah Shalom, to lay forth, to spread out. So there would be one person that he would spread out Shema before everybody, which means he would make the brachas, the 2 brachas before, Yetzer and Ma'oris and Abaycha Ba'amisal Ba'ava. One person would make those brachas out loud, and everybody would answer Amen, and he would be moitzi them. They wouldn't make the brachas on their own. And then Shema, they would say the first part together, the first parasha. And then again, after brachas, he would also do on their behalf. So this process is also only done when there's 10. If there's no 10, you can't be moitzi other people. It shouldn't be that one person, he's the one benching the bracha of Shema, V'akol Shem V'ayden Amin Achrav, Ela B'asara, only with a minyan. Bezanikra Poiris Ala Shema. The Ein Oimrim Kaddish, as we said, and before we talk about Kedusha, Nakdishach, you don't say Kaddish either B'asara. V'ein HaKoyanim Noisim Yedeim B'asara, you don't do Brichas Kohanim, only when you have 10 B'Koyanim in a minyan. The Kohanim, despite the fact that they're not answering Amin, that's okay. They're the Kohanim, they are part of the 10. Now, Shakol Asar Mishal Hayman Ekroim, Ada. Ada is defined by 10 people. Shenem, as the Pasuk says in regards to the Meraglim, Admasa Leida Hazais, till when will this negative, evil congregation go on? And how many people were there that constituted a congregation? Vayu Asar, there were only 10. Sharei Yatsu Yishua V'Kala, there were 12, but Yishua and Kalev went to B'Mishtateach, and they separated from the group, went by Chevron. Halacha Vav. V'chol dvar kedusha, any holiness or proclamation of holiness should be done lo ya'el b'toich ha'eda miYisrael. And we said at Eidas 10, Shenamar v'nigdash b'soich b'nei Yisrael, I will be sanctified between the Yidden. Now, what happens? You started with a minyan, and you have 2 Hatzalah members, got a call, they're out. Now you're short. You're 8. Less than 10. Even though they didn't have permission. In our case, they do have permission in the case of Hatzalah. But 2 people ran for a business deal like there. They saw the geld, the Egel Azav, and they ran. So, even though they weren't allowed to do it, they are Yigmru Ashad. The rest are allowed to conclude. Not only Chazar Sashat, they're allowed to finish the Chazan, even if a few Chavra left. They're allowed to finish till Kaddish Tiskabel. That wraps up the minyan. Okay, which is after Volatzin. Halacha Zayin. In order for the minyan to happen, they all need to be in one place. Or Shliach Tzibur Imam b'Makam Echad, the Shliach Tzibur is together with them. And now we're going to learn a concept called Nigrar. Okay, there's certain people that we know that if there's a majority, everyone is kiviyachol drawn after the majority. So we'll see this now. Chotzer ktana shnifritz of melul lechotzer gdela. Let's say we have, the shape of a kamatz. You have a rectangle, and a square. So it's like a kamatz. And the bottom of the kamatz has no indication that it was a separate room. That means it's nifratz b'milua. There's no fourth wall. It's three walls connecting to the rest of the kamatz. So, if there were 9 people in the big one, and one person in the small bottom of the kamatz, mitzdarfen, he joins because the smaller room, so to speak, it goes after, it follows the big room, and he's following the bigger mass of people. There's 9 people there. Tisha baktana v'yachad b'gdela. However, it's the other way around, and there's 9 people in the small one and 1 in the big one, then ein mitzdarfen. They don't. It's considered 2 separate rooms. Rambam's going to define afterwards why, because I'll say it in advance. The bigger room has a defined tzir of a room. It has. It's called pasin. It has the full shape of a room. Just in the bottom, there's missing, but already has the pasin mikan. It has the indicators that it has a fourth wall. It has from both sides fourth wall. Mashaying in the small one is doesn't have a fourth wall, and therefore the big one that has the big room that already has a shame of a room. So the small one could be nigra derech hagav after it, but the small one, being that it doesn't have any of the fourth wall, doesn't define itself as room b'fnei atzmai, therefore you can't. The big one won't be nigra after the small one automatically. So Tisha baktana v'yachad, we said our name now. Tzibur bagdoila. If you have the entire congregation in the big one and shliach tzibur baktana, and the chazan is in the small one, they will fulfill their obligation of davening, because again, you could be mitzvah to the big one. Tzibur baktana, if the entire congregation is the small one, shliach tzibur bagdoila, as we said, ein yotzin dechavasn sharei muflag mehem. He's separate from them, and he's not in one place with them. Why would we say that? In regards to that the small one could become part of the big one can't become part of the small one, you want to combine it. The big room has defining lines already from the fourth wall and from both sides. And so it's separate from the small one, and it defines its own place. But the smaller one cannot be considered as its own. So if everyone's there, so then that's good. But it could the most it could be considered like a side corner of the big room, and therefore when you're looking at the big room, it could be mitzvah. But if they're all in the small one, the kids, you have to have the rug with them over there. No, you can't be mitzvah. Halacha ches v'chein. This same concept of the bottom of the kamat being able to join the bigger rectangle of the kamat works in the same deal with tzoya. If you have shmutz, you have dung bagdoila. Also the spell likras krishma baktana. You can't read krishma in the small one because it's considered a small one. It's considered like a karen zavis, like a corner of the big room. It's considered like an extension. However, if there's tzoya, there's shmutz in the small bottom of the kamat, motel spell likras krishma bagdoila, providing imlaya shamreach. There's no smell. Because again, it sets its own rishus. It has its own parameters. Yeah. Halacha test. Shliach tzibur moitzis rabbi dechabasam. The shliach tzibur has the ability to be moitzi everybody from their obligation. Ketzad, for example, b'shashu mispal, when he davens shmanas vein oinin amrein alchar kol bracha, when they say amen after each bracha, rein ki mispalen, they're, so to speak, giving a gushpanka, right? They're signing off on what he's saying. So when they say amen, it's as if they daven. In which case do we allow somebody just to say amen? And it's considered as if he daven, if he does not know how to daven on his own, if someone knows how to daven on his own, he can only be yotze and fulfill his obligation to daven if he davens on his own. Aside from Rosh Hashanah, as we see. In which case do we say that he cannot be moitzi, somebody that knows how to daven on his own? That person has to daven on his own. All the other days of the year. Chutz, aside from Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of the year of Yovel, in which we daven the same type of Shemana of Rosh Hashanah on that Yom Kippur, which include the 3 brachas of Malchus, Zechronis, and Shofars, with all the psukim, being that it's totally new, even someone that knows how to read, is able to rely on the shliach tzibur, because it's much more complex. So, he's able to alleviate all those that know how to lane also from their responsibility. In the same way that he is mighty someone that doesn't, that's illiterate. Brichas are very long. The majority of people that do know how to read still can't keep their focus and understand pshat and have that intent like the chazan, and therefore he's mighty. If a person that knows how to read the sides in these 2 days, I'm going to rely on the chazan. He does have that permission. He could rely on the chazan. The chazan will be white. Halacha Yud Aleph, Ein Memanim Shliach Tzibur. We do not appoint a Shliach Tzibur, Ela Gadol Shebat Tzibur, the greatest of the community or the group of people, b'chachmasa b'maisav, sign wisdom, and in good deeds and action. Right? Not worth much to be big in talk and not to do. So both of them. Now, ve'im hayazaken, if he's an older person, also that's an additional plus. That's extra praiseworthy, in addition to be Baal Maisim and Baal Teira, to also be older. It's appropriate. We try to find a person that the congregation will push and enjoy listening to, and he knows how to zetz. Even though you could have a person that knows how to learn and knows how to and does the midas tavis, but he does not late. Someone doesn't have a full beard and he's not fully an adult. He should not be the chazan. Why? It's not befitting for a congregation to be led by someone young, even though he's a big Talmid Chacham. He is allowed to, as we said, lay before them Shema. Because again, it's different. It's not that Tefilla of Shema Nasrei. He's allowed to be mighty in the time they did Perek Zal Shema. Now, halacha Yud Beis. Final halacha for today, and we're going to discuss a person that has a lisp or can't verbalize certain vowels properly. So, v'cheina ilig. Those slurs words. Kigayin misha kodel aleph ayin. Aleph is from the front of the mouth. Ayin is from the neck, from deeper in the throat. He swaps between them. Oila ayin aleph. V'chol misheni yachal oisius oisius kitikun. He can't properly schneid the oisius. We do not appoint him as the official shliach tzibur. The exception to this rule is that if there's a rule, if there's a teacher and one of his students is here, he's allowed to say, even if he's not older, he's a young guy, he doesn't doesn't say the words in ganz and klar. Teacher says, in our minyan, in front of me, he's the chaz. Now, hasuma, someone that's blind, he's able to be the chazan, sai for Brichas Krishma, and sai for Shmonas. If his clothing are ripped to the extent that his shoulders are revealed, even though Shema is allowed to say, if he doesn't become the chazan until he is covered, and our minig, the minig is mipnei kvoid tzibur to wear a talis. Minig Lubavitch, when you're in a different shul, that's something else, but otherwise, our minig is not to put on a talis, specifically the chazan where it doesn't wear a talis by night, etc. And Otov, as we understand pshat, is that he is covered. Yisher koyach for being with us. It is an absolute pleasure to go together through together the Perek of the day, slowly covering ground and going through the entire Teresh Balpeh with the Rambam and our lead. Yisher koyach for being with us. Shikayach to the entire team.